Today we are at the Westin Cemetery in Portland, Maine, the second oldest cemetery in the city and the most haunted place in Portland, Maine. This cemetery dates back to the late 1700s, purchased by the city of Portland in 1829. So we are at the Catholic ground, which is also known as the Old Irish Burial Ground here. A lot of Irish came here in the 1800s to escape the Irish famine. They settled here in Portland, and over 900 of them are buried here. But as you can see, there's not 900 tombstones here. When they took inventory in 2003, there was only 57 tombstones left. And the way the story goes, you can see a lot of the Irish here looking for their graves, looking for their headstones. 900 people were here, 57 tombstones are left. So there's people buried all over here. There's old stories of how they would bury people. They would get the whole family buried in there, cover it with planks and then dirt. And people were actually, over the years, as the wood rotted, people would step and end up in a grave. People started using this for burials in the late 1700s, purchased by the city in 1829, but the city never really took care of this place. A lot of tombs have been opened up here as over the years, found to be empty. So who knows where they went, but there's a lot of empty tombs that we're going to be walking by here shortly. But you can see just a very old cemetery. So we are at a row of tombs right now, and supposedly a lot of these tombs were checked over time, and a lot of them were found to be empty, including the most famous tomb in the cemetery. This is the Longfellow tomb, where the famous poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's parents are buried here, as well as a great aunt and a grandniece were buried here. And the story goes, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was born here in Portland, grew up here in Portland, but as an adult he moved to Massachusetts, and he wanted his parents to be buried with him in Massachusetts, so he paid a gentleman to come here and bring his parents down to Massachusetts to be buried with him. And the gentleman took the money, took the bodies, left the cemetery, but the bodies never made it to Massachusetts, and the gentleman disappeared with the money, and supposedly the bodies were just dumped on the side of the road, and the parents have been seen here trying to get back to their grave. One of the most haunted areas in the cemetery, here at the witch's grave. You can see there's been people coming here, burning candles. Local kids years ago used to say that if you came here on a full moon at midnight, your soul would be sucked out of you and you'd die soulless. This is a very haunted part. The witch does make appearances from time to time. Rapidly losing light here at the Westin Cemetery in Portland, Maine. I'm not going to hang out to see how really haunted this place is, but it is a really cool place here in the heart of the city of Portland. We are here at 159 Union Street in Bangor, Maine. This is called the Thomas A. Hill House. What the Hill family did here is not what brought us here today. It had more to do with the former mayors, Mr. and Mrs. Sam Dale. Mr. Dale's wife was named Matilda. They lived here right around the same time the city of Chicago was burning down, the Great Fire of Chicago. The generous residents of Bangor raised $10,000 in fire relief for the city of Chicago and entrusted it to Mr. Dale here in this home. Mysteriously, the money went missing. Not long after that, Mr. Dale died in this house, I might add. And it is thought that him and his wife Their spirits haunt this house. Apparently they're practical jokers. The workers here will find small items being moved around on them, as well as there's often a smell of floral perfume and cigarette smoke. Samuel and Matilda were fond of her perfume, and him of his cigarettes. Still in downtown Bangor. We're across the street from the Thomas A. Hill House where we just told you a story over there. Now we're standing here in front of the Isaac Ferrar mansion. Still in downtown Bangor, across the street from Union Street of the Thomas A. Hill House. This has an awful story, a tragic story here. So Isaac Ferrar built this house in 1833. Him and his family lived here uneventfully for years. A family called the Merrills purchased the house. The Merrill family moved in 1893, and they had a young son who tragically died here, choking on a marble. His nanny was so distraught, she went to her bedroom and hung herself. And now both of their ghosts are known to haunt this place. The child and the nanny can often be felt. Their presence can be felt. There's been people hear footsteps and doors opening and closing, and I believe they've actually been seen. Apparitions of them have actually been seen here. The tragic story of the child who choked on a marble and his nanny who was so distraught she took her own life. Here we are still, downtown Bangor, Maine. Right now we are in front of the Penobscot Theatre Company in downtown. And now this is a theatre company. It's a great place to see a play. Lisa and I have seen plays in here. Just a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. Very old historic building. In fact, this building dates to 1889 when it was originally built. When it was originally built, it was the Bangor Opera House. Used as an opera house for years and years until the early 1900s. There was a bad fire here in the early 1900s. I'm going to say around 1914 or so. This place caught fire, burned down. Tragically, fighting that fire, 2 firefighters in the wrong place at the wrong time had a wall collapse upon them, and they both perished in this fire. Years later, patrons of the Penobscot Theatre Company will say they will look over and see a couple of firefighters sitting here enjoying the show. And why not? They gave up their life protecting this beautiful building all those years ago, and their spirits are still here enjoying the entertainment. We're at Mount Hope Cemetery in Bangor, Maine. A cemetery that is very old, dates back to 1834, mostly famous because of Stephen King's book, Pet Sematary, and subsequent movie. A large part of what was filmed here. This was the Pet Cemetery. This was the star of the show, if you will. A couple notable burials here. Hannibal Hamlin, Vice President under Abraham Lincoln in Lincoln's first term, is buried here. And also buried here is a gentleman named Melvin Purvis. And that name may not ring a bell to you, but Melvin Purvis was the FBI agent who brought down John Dillinger and Babyface Nelson. What I don't know, what I can't figure out is Melvin Purvis was born in South Carolina, raised in South Carolina, and died in South Carolina. Under mysterious circumstances, he was either cleaning his gun or flat out committed suicide. That has never been determined, but a lot of people, even though it was labeled as a suicide, a lot of people think it was just an accident as he was cleaning his gun. But what I've never been able to figure out is his ties to Maine. If you happen to know, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. But I don't know why a person from South Carolina, born, raised, died, everything, would be buried here at Mount Hope Cemetery in Bangor, Maine. One of the mysteries to me. But supposedly now, if you are here late at night, right before closing, it's dusk, it's getting kind of dark, and you are exiting the cemetery before they lock the gates, supposedly people have been having a sensation of being followed. They hear footsteps, they turn around, there's nothing there. Or they'll be walking along and walk through a cold spot. It'll just all of a sudden be very cold. Another sign of paranormal activity. So that wraps up our tour of haunted places in Maine. Hope you enjoyed this. Don't miss that next adventure. Please hit that subscribe button. Thanks again. We use Epidemic Sound. That's what we put on all of our videos. That's what we use for everything. If you like that and you want to try it 30 days risk-free if you're a creator, go ahead. I'm going to put a link in the description below. You can go ahead and try that out for 30 days risk-free. If you like it, sign up. It helps out the channel. We get a free month. So give it a try. I think you'll like it.